Okay, you guessed it. We're going to do one more paragraph. I'm going to look at the rest of my examples and decide which one I'm going to use. So I'm not going to use the literary one because that's not really about avoiding pain and suffering. That's more about finding inspiration from looking at the past. The Kanye West Taylor Swift thing, not so much pain necessarily. Is just that was actually kind of entertaining, really. Maybe it was painful for Taylor Swift. So I guess I'm going to go with the sports one, and not trusting the Patriots, because some sports fans were like actually in pain because they were getting made fun of, or they were afraid they're going to lose championships. So let's look at my last paragraph. So I took my 3 minutes and wrote my very last paragraph. Whoa, sorry. What? Hey, come on, machine. Okay. I took 3 minutes to do my very last paragraph, and it says, additionally, it's important to remember events from the past to understand who can be trusted. The New England Patriots were involved in a scandal this year because some players were deflating footballs to make them easier to throw. Fans of the team had to endure pain and suffering, wondering if championship titles would be taken away from them. NFL officials will need to remember this cheating scandal and put in procedures for checking air pressure in footballs to avoid this happening again. So you get 3 more minutes. Choose your third example from your helps chart and go ahead and get started now. Okay, folks, time's up, and we are almost done with the 11-minute essay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the last step in the 11-minute, well, almost last step in the 11-minute essay is to write your concluding sentence. And so what you're going to do is basically kind of restate your thesis. So remember, my thesis at the beginning was remembering the past is important because it can save a lot of pain and suffering. I'm going to look over my examples, and then my concluding sentence is remembering the past is clearly vital to avoiding pain and suffering in the future. So we're not talking like a huge conclusion, just a one sentence summary of your main idea or a restatement of the thesis. And remember, this is not a final copy. You can go back and edit it, because I'm already looking right now, and if I look at this sentence, I basically almost repeated it. So when I go back and do my revising and editing, I'm probably going to either have to change this sentence in this paragraph, or I'm going to have to change this sentence. But the point of the 11-minute essay is to just get something down, because it's easier to revise than it is to think of something new. So whatever, you're going to get 1 minute, and I want you to think of just one sentence that's going to help you wrap it up. So on your mark, get set, go. All right, time's up. You are done with your 11-minute essay. Okay, the very last thing in the 11-minute essay is to look over your essay and decide if one of the parts of your paper is weaker than the other, and if so, delete it. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I felt like my sports example was kind of weak. I don't actually know that much about sports. I kind of remember that Deflategate thing being in the news, but I don't know the details really well. Where when I got stung by the fireman, I knew that really well, and I really felt like my example about the plague and Ebola was pretty good. I had a lot of detail. I had a lot to say about it. So I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to cross out that sports example because it wasn't that good, and I don't really need it. I have two pretty good examples. So after this, what I would do to elaborate would be to go back to those two paragraphs and make them as strong as possible. I might add in some figurative language or imagery or just a little more detail to the examples to make them really exciting or more fun to read. But so that's the next step. The 11-minute essay is not a final copy. You're going to add more detail later, but it's just to get it down, and then it's going to help you with your organization, and it's going to make sure you have enough examples, and it's a really good strategy, and it's something you can do on your own. Even in the STAR test, you can look at the clock that's in the testing room, give yourself 11 minutes and plan your essay, and you're going to have a much better essay. We find that kids who do the helps chart and the 11-minute essay in the testing room, like they do it themselves, they end up scoring really, really high. They do really well on their exam. So I highly recommend, every time you write an expository essay, every time you write a persuasive essay, do a helps chart and do an 11-minute essay. It's going to help you score really, really high.